In this video, I'm going to show you the perfect prompt formula for creating images with ChatGPT or any other AI image tool that you have access to. So what makes a great image prompt? A great prompt gives ChatGPT or AI in general a clear description to work from when creating your image. And it's got the following core components: subject, context, composition, style, color palette, lighting, mood or atmosphere, and technical details. So now let's talk about each of them in detail, look at some examples, and finally put them all together in one prompt and see what the result will be. If you're new here, I'm Aga. I'm an online education business owner with more than 1.5 million followers across social media. On this channel, I share my top tips on AI content and productivity. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and let's get this video started. So the first element of your perfect image prompt is the subject. So what is the image of? So you want to be specific here. You want to describe things like the appearance of the subject, and you can include things like age, skin tone, hairstyle, clothing, pose and expression for human subjects. And for inanimate objects, you can also include things like color, shape or texture. Here's an example. If I just tell ChatGPT to create an image of a clown, this is what it comes up with. So it's just a picture of a clown. There is nothing wrong with it as such, but it might not be exactly what you're looking for. So let's compare it with this. A middle-aged clown with very curly blonde hair, dressed in blue with a surprised expression. Let's see what the result will be. So now we've given ChatGPT a lot more detail to work with, so our result is actually a lot more tailored to what we were looking for. The next element of the perfect ChatGPT image prompt is the context. So where and when is the scene set? So this is the setting or the environment in which your subject is situated, any relevant details in the background, and even things like the time period during which the scene is set. For example, here's what happens when I ask ChatGPT for a picture of a horse. But look at this. I'm going to ask it for a picture of a horse inside a Victorian library with very old-looking books on the shelves and a couple of people at desks reading in the background. So this is the result. It's a lot more tailored. The next element is composition. So this is how the different elements in your image are arranged, the camera angle, what's in the background and what's in the foreground. For example, you may be after a centered portrait, wide shot, the rule of thirds, overhead view, symmetrical layout, or a bird's eye view. So let's compare. The first prompt is just a picture of a medieval market. And this is what it comes up with. It is indeed a medieval market, but let's experiment with the composition and ask it for a bird's eye view of a medieval market. The result is very different because we can see the picture from a very different angle. The next element is style. So that is the art style or medium of your image. So for example, you may want it to be realistic. You may be looking for a photograph, a cartoon, or an oil painting. You can also combine different styles together and see what it comes up with. For example, here's a basic prompt, a photograph of a Dalmatian. And here's a prompt where I specify the style, a hyper-realistic photograph of a Dalmatian. The result is quite different. Next, the color palette. So this is something that sets the visual tone for your image. So for example, you can use keywords like neon colors, pastel tones, monochrome, or muted earth tones. But you can also list the specific key colors that you want to use by naming them or even using the exact hex codes that you need. So here's what I mean. Let's ask ChatGPT for a blue fishbowl on a yellow table. It's going to give you exactly that, but it's chosen a random blue and a random yellow. So you can specify that you want this type of blue fishbowl on this type of yellow table. And the result is very different. The next one is lighting, and different lighting in an image will create a very different result. So you need to be able to describe it if you want to create a specific mood. For example, you can use phrases like soft lighting, harsh shadows, golden hour, backlit, studio lighting, dramatic side lighting, soft morning light, and so on. So here's a picture of an astronaut floating under moonlight, and here's a picture of a backlit floating astronaut. They're quite different, aren't they? The next one is mood or atmosphere. So this is the emotional tone or the atmosphere in your image. For example, it can be peaceful, chaotic, mysterious, eerie, romantic, or dreamlike. So here's a lonely cabin in the woods. The prompt is quite basic and ChatGPT is going to assume what you actually need. So the output is quite random. But if you specify what kind of atmosphere you're looking for, you'll get a more precise result. So a lonely cabin in the woods during snowfall, eerie and dreamlike atmosphere. And here's what it comes up with. The picture is indeed very different and the atmosphere is tailored to your description. And the final one is technical details. So this is entirely optional, but it's something that's useful to be aware of. You can specify some technical details relating to things like the aspect ratio, the size or the format of the image, or even camera settings like depth of field or the type of lens that was used. Now that you know the different components of a great ChatGPT image prompt, here's what a complete prompt looks like when you put it all together. A middle-aged clown with very curly blonde hair, dressed in blue with a surprised expression, inside a Victorian library, seen from above, Renaissance oil painting style, pastel tones, dramatic lighting, dreamlike atmosphere, square image. So I've included all the different components of a prompt and let's see what it comes up with. So this is the result. You can see that it's very different from the original image I showed you at the start of the video when I just asked ChatGPT for a picture of a clown. If this video helped you, then let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and watch my other video about how to make AI-generated images look more realistic. And I'll see you next time. Bye!